You are live with me, TSV, and I'm always everywhere you want to be. And you can tell by my background tonight, I'm in my favorite spot. I'm in Tigo. And for the people who haven't been following, I don't know, you've been living under a rock. But Tigo is short for Tiffany's Ego. Y'all know that's my guest room, but we are transforming her into a studio this summer. Now, I know most of the time it's just me and we just chit chatting, but tonight I have the pleasure of sitting down with a good friend of mine, Jamad. I'm not gonna tell his last name. He'll let us know if he want all his information out like that. But this is one of my good friends, Bowie family. He's a Bowie State University alum just like me, and I met him when I was in
Life.
grad school. I was in grad school and he was in undergrad. And that you came in 2010, 2010 babies. They were mine. They were like, I took them under my wing. I don't know what it was about that class that came in 2010, but I got so many brothers and sisters from that class. I just love them so much. So shout out to the illustrious Bowie State University. Now, I hope you all have been having a good week. I've been having a pretty good week. But actually, I ain't gonna lie. Jamad, I've been having a great week. You wanna know why?
Why?
Because Monday, mm-mm-mm, June 10th, in the year of our Lord 2024, baby, them kids around 140 walked out of the school building and I don't got to see them no more to August. Bye. I'm so glad that the school year was over. So everybody knows that I teach first grade over at Billingsley Elementary School, and we had a great end of the year. My kiddos did real good, Ma. Like for real, I ain't trying to toot my own horn, but we had some standardized tests to take, and my class grew 86% in reading and 100% in math. And it was only God, because sometimes when they was reading and doing their math, I was like, what am I doing? Because clearly,
Yeah. Hats off to you, then. Hats off, because teaching down here in Georgia, in middle school, I did not see that type of growth. I did not. I didn't see a growth in a lot of cases. I was wondering what I was doing. Is it me?
nah, it ain't you, it's them. But even if I saw 1% growth, that had me excited. So to know that my kids grew 86% in reading and 100% in math, and let me tell you, I am not a math whiz, and this new math that these children are doing nowadays, I said, how, what, who, when, where, why? But we did it, and I hope that they're gonna have a great summer. I know I plan on having an amazing summer. I don't
Kudos to
have
you.
too
Kudos to you.
much. What you say?
I said kudos to
I
you.
can't hear you, Maud.
Can you hear me now?
Thank you.
There we
Thank
go.
you so much.
Yeah,
Uh,
there we go.
yeah,
Kudos to
perfect.
you. I was
Perfect.
saying.
So thank you. Thank you so much. But tonight I have Jamad on because we talked last week about it being Men's Health Awareness Month, Men's Mental Health, and Men's Health Awareness Month all together. And it's Father's Day coming up. Shout out to the great fathers out there who don't get enough praise. They don't get enough recognition. They don't get enough anything. So tonight, I'm making tonight and for the duration of the month, and in general, I'm making Tips Talk a safe space to have conversation with men. And I couldn't think of anybody better than Jamad to come on with me tonight and have this conversation about all things men. So, we're gonna jump right into it. Go ahead, bring your friends in. Hit me up in my chat. I can't see my chat box here, but I can see it on Facebook. But if I don't say nothing right away, it's because I'm trying to multitask. I'm using my phone, I'm using my laptop. But go ahead and talk to me. Make sure you say hi to me and Jamad. But we're gonna get right into it. So we know that this month is Father's Day. And how do you know the origin of Father's Day?
I have no idea.
Me neither. I
No
didn't know.
idea.
No clue. But it started in I didn't know it was this long ago. The first Father's Day was celebrated June 19th, 1910.
I thought that was like before most. That's before most holidays, isn't it? Like most
Yes.
holidays celebrate.
Yep, that's before most holidays. But it Father's Day was resisted at first. People didn't want to honor it and people didn't want to celebrate Father's Day, which I thought was weird. I don't know why they didn't want to celebrate fathers or honor fathers on that day. But we had a president that pushed it right on through. President Wilson honored it by unfurling a flag in Spokane. I don't know where that is, but it's somewhere in the US. And that's the beginning and the origins of Father's Day. So, Jamad, are you your dad?
I am. I am.
Yeah, you
It's
have.
crazy. I didn't. I always said, hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me now? All right, we good. All
Perfect.
right,
Yep.
so I am the ninth of 14 kids, and all those are by my
Oh,
mother, right? So I
oh
never
Lord.
knew my father. I've actually taken like I did the ancestry.com. My wife got that for me for my birth for Christmas one year. Um
Oh.
to kind of like learn my family history, maybe try to find my dad, and I've come close, but I still haven't like found him yet. So but I always said to myself,
Mm-hmm.
like when I get the opportunity to be a father, I really want to make sure I'm super active. I want to be there. I want to be part of my kids' lives as much as I can. But I did also say that I wanted to wait till I was 30. So I was like, I need to be settled. I
Oh.
ain't just trying to be out here gallivanting around, being with this woman and that woman, starting all these families and all these places. So I was like, I want to be settled. I want to have a wife. I want to be, be in my career field, have a home, a place to call my own. Um, Lucky for me, when I was 29, I actually got my wife.
Come
So
on,
we
wife.
ended up we ended up, which is crazy because we've known each other since we were 7, and like we just didn't talk to each other for over 20 years. And then we just
Wow.
she DM'd me. I ain't gonna hold you. She jumped in my DMs and we ended up getting
Ain't nothing wrong
together.
with
And
a bold woman.
she took that dive and it worked. Uh, but we ended up getting married. We got proposed after I proposed to her after 8 months because we were both like, "This is it. This is what I want." We knew it for sure. And not long after that, we wanted to start having more children. She already had 2 from previous relationships, so end up being fathers of 2 amazing boys. So right now, one's 13 and one's 7, and then trying to have some more kids now.
Well,
But found out
wait. Let's put a pause there. We got some things to unpack. We're gonna put a comma.
that.
So let's go back. What you said? You are number 9 of 14 children,
Yep,
all by mama.
all by mama. She's a soldier. Shout out to
Indeed,
Pinky. That's what we call her. Shout out to Pinky. She a soldier.
indeed. She's definitely a soldier. So what was? And then you said you never knew your dad. So what was it like in the household with growing up as a young man, not having your dad there, and having so many children?
Um, for me, I didn't give it much thought like at the time. Growing up, I think when I got older, I kind of thought about it a little more. Like, man, there wasn't a lot of males, and if the ones that were around weren't positive. So, of the 14 of us, it's 10 girls and 4 boys. Right. So I have 2 older brothers and 1 younger brother. So there's not really a lot of testosterone going around. There's nobody to really show you how to be a man. And unfortunately, the 4 of us, we kind of all went into different paths. So
Gotcha.
I tell a story all the time. I have 2 older brothers. Both of them have been convicted felons for being considered drug kingpins. But
Wow.
the eldest one kind of guided me by saying, "Don't be like me," and that's all he had to say
Stay
to me
away
was like,
from it.
"Don't be like me."
Hmm.
Yeah, so like that was some of my, the guidance I received, and then I had an uncle that stayed with us that ended up passing when I was 10. And he was like, he introduced me to a lot of things that I like now that I'm really into, science fiction, fantasy. So he was another male role model, but other than that, like it wasn't there. Like I just always thought women were supposed to be in charge, honestly, because that's all I knew. Like my mother, my grandmother, and my older sisters who acted like mom sometimes when mom couldn't be there. So it was different. And then as I got older, I kind of found my own way for, to see a man doesn't necessarily have to be in charge, but you have to know what your role is and your dynamic in your particular household and your family structure.
Indeed. That's a good story. Now it's to say that 9 out of 14 and your brothers took different paths, but you wound up at Bowie State University, which is a testament to your mother. Can we unpack that a little bit? How was that for you transitioning, from so many people to still having a lot of people at university, but being able to have space to grow, to learn different, the male role models that you may have come in contact with. Can we talk about that a little bit?
For sure. A lot of great male role models at Bowie. Let me first say that Dr. Vaughn, R.I.P. That
Yeah,
was my guy.
I love Dr. Vaughn.
Dean Batten, uh, even Dr. Burnham, Dr. Lucas,
Yes.
Dr. Travis. A lot of great male role models at Bowie. The first time I ever had a black male teacher was at Bowie. Um,
Ooh,
Never got that opportunity growing up. I mean, I had my wrestling coach who was close, but no cigar. I didn't take his class. So a lot of positive role models, but at the same time, I took a gap year after high
mm-hmm.
school. So I was a little bit older than a lot of my peers and coming in freshman year. And because of my upbringing, I was also like a little bit more prepared than a lot of them to be on my own. I had worked for 40, 50 hours a week. I was already taking care of my
Right.
own bills, my own laundry, feeding myself. So while I got mentored by some great people that I still talk to this day, whether they be fellow students or administration, I also got the opportunity to mentor and to speak to a lot of people, whether they were my year or after.
Yeah. Now that's great because mentorship is so important. We see it often in schools, we see it all over, but a lot of times when we look at mentorship, it's a lot of girls being mentored. It's
Yeah.
not to say that boys are not to say that there's a lot of Greek organizations. Like I was a Delta Gym when I was growing up, and I'm sure some some Greek organizations that are ran by men have it as well, but it's not as prevalent for our little boys to be mentored. And did you, when you became a mentor, or when you were pouring into other young men or young boys, what was that like for you?
Um, it was weird at first, honestly, because like as I
Hmm.
like got older and thought back, like even in my friend groups, I was typically the youngest one. Like like most of
Mm.
my friends from where I'm from are older than me, and then in my community, I was one of the younger guys. But so being that opportunity or getting that opportunity to provide guidance to people, was a bit different for me. But I kind of settled into it, got used to it, and even thinking back, like I oftentimes, even though I was younger than my friends, I would give them advice because
Hmm.
I had some experience that they didn't have. So I kind of got that idea that maturity is not age, it's experience, and that provided a lot of clarity and helped me out when I was as I was matriculating and I was mentoring younger people, and it was a good feeling. Like I liked it. So I think that's what ended up getting me into teaching, um, though I'm leaving teaching.
Hmm.
But that was one of the things that
Come
kind of
on,
drew me is
Lee.
that
It's okay.
opportunity to mentor.
So, and I'm sure it helped to prepare you for fatherhood as well. And you said you have a
Absolutely.
13-year-old and a 7-year-old. Now that
Yeah.
that's a big a gap. And
Hmm.
those are both heavy ages. What is it like growing? And they're both boys. What is it like in your
Both boys.
house?
Um, a lot of testosterone. I say this. The youngest one is highly intelligent,
Hmm.
like too smart for his age, and sometimes too smart for his own good. Um, and being a step parent or a bonus parent, whatever you want to phrase it, doesn't, not going to talk semantics. Um,
Right.
it's hard. It's very difficult. It's very hard to come. People, say being a parent is hard. That, let's not
Mhm.
sugarcoat that at all. There is no guidebook. There's people that say do this, do that. You never know what's really going to work. People are just throwing things at a dartboard. Like, nobody knows. But then as a
And
step
hoping that
parent,
it's gonna
you
stick.
come in, yeah, like nothing, and hoping. Then it is all it is, a hope, a wing, and a prayer. But when you come in
Mhm.
as a step parent, you also have to try to fit into a family dynamic that's already been established, and you're changing that dynamic. So there's a lot of
Yeah.
change. There's a lot of adjustment. You kind of have to figure out, where do I fit in this? And you also have to deal with the traumas, any traumas or any experiences that the kids have
Mhm.
already had. You don't know that they occurred, so you're learning as you go along, and you're going to set them off sometimes. Like my 13-year-old, we butt heads all the time because
Mhm.
we have clashing personalities, but
Gotcha.
that's just what it is. Our personalities clash. But I'm still learning him, and he's still learning me. The 7-year-old, we get
Mhm.
along very well, but like I'm a very like laid back, don't talk a lot
Mhm.
person most of the time.
Real
He's
chill.
nonstop. He's nonstop. So we can get along, but at the same time, I'm like, yo, shut up. Like, you just give me 5 minutes, please. So it's really interesting. I'd say, kind of like you said, I got prepared for it, learned some people about people's personalities, learned my wife studies psychology, so
Come on,
that helps
wife.
out a lot. So we can sit down and we can talk about like the psychological factors, things that they've seen, things that they've experienced. Even talk about their fathers, not in like a negative light, but like their mannerisms, so I
Yeah.
can better understand how that may have been passed down to the children, so I can get a better idea of like how I can maneuver or the things I may need to do for them. So it's a never ending journey of learning and growth. I'll say that's the
Yes.
nice way of putting it. Growth.
That is. That's a great way of putting it, learning and growth. And I know you don't hear it often. You probably never hear it at all. The thank you for taking on that responsibility. I am a
Right.
product of I never had a stepdad because he was just my
Mhm.
dad. He was the only dad that I knew. So I love my dad. My parents got divorced about 5 years ago now, and still love my dad. My dad never made a difference between me and my siblings, good, bad, or indifferent, you know. Um, and I can remember growing up, and I guess it was different because I was a girl. My dad came into my life when I was about 4 years old, I believe, like around 92 ish, 91, 92. And I just loved him immediately. But I was also a girl. And so and my biological donor, I don't call him dad. I don't have no issue with the man because I don't know him. But my donor was not around at all. So it was no like, oh, you one dad here say this, another dad say that. So I didn't have that problem. But to watch a man step up to the plate and fill shoes that he did not have to do. Um, when I say he loved me right away, he did. He took to me right away, he did. And he taught me, like I tell people all the time, my mother taught me how to take care of a man, but my daddy taught me how to take care of myself. And
Like that.
that's just how it went, you know.
Yeah.
For so he was the first person to buy me diamonds. I was about 5 years old, and he bought me diamond studs. Now, what a lot of people don't know about me is when I was growing up, I was raised with my cousins. So I had a boy cousin that was like 9 months older than me, and a boy cousin that was about a year younger than me. And I was in the country. So I
Oh
was a
yeah.
pretty Tom.
You was climbing trees. You
So
was running through the woods.
yes. Playing football in the front yard in the dress. So my mom told him, "Don't get her those earrings," but he bought them anyway. So I came straight from church, and my cousins were playing football outside. So what I do? I go play football outside. Lost those diamond earrings. Lost them, and
How mad
he
was he?
didn't. He was not even that mad. But I
Wow.
think it was kind of calm because my mom had already told like Tiffany is gonna lose them earrings. She might lose them. So I think my mom is on here. Oh, 90. Well, she said I met him in 91. So it was things like that. Then when I turned 16, he bought me a diamond ring. He bought a diamond ring for me when I turned 16 and my sister when she turned 16 because he said if a guy's gonna come, they gotta come better than me. All of those things. And for someone to do that for someone who is not biologically theirs, it takes a lot of strength and responsibility. And I thank you, Jamad, because you didn't have to do it. And just like I don't know if you've seen this popular meme that's going around now, where is a mother, she has a son who's in 8th grade, and she's married to a guy, a man, and he has a son that's in 8th grade. And so the question that's going around is what would you do or how would you feel? Because the dad that has a biological son in the 8th grade wants to take his son or his biological son on a trip, but not his stepson. And so now the question is going around like what would you do and what do you think? What's your take on that?
Um, I don't know what I would. That's not something I would do personally. I'm just trying to think like what would I, and if I did take one time, I would take the other one another time, like to balance it out. It's not fair,
Another
and
time.
to me, no distinction between your kids and your kids. Like I tell them I love them all the
Mhm.
time. Like um, I'm not distinguishing between them, and when I'm blessed to have biological children, is that I'm raising all you. You all mine. You take care. You put food in your mouths,
Right.
put a roof over your head. So if it's a situation, maybe we need to bond a little bit. Yeah, let's go. Let's be by ourselves. I've taken my oldest son to the movies with me before. I've taken my youngest son. He likes sweets. We've gone to get ice cream into the candy store before. It's just different bonding times for different children. Because I think parents don't realize sometimes, especially when there's multiple kids, like you still need that one-on-one time. So maybe it's that, but if I went on a trip with one, I'm definitely going on a trip with another time. Like everybody gets their one-on-one time.
Yeah.
It's only right.
And that's a good way of looking at it. A lot of people didn't take that tune on it because they're like, it's either, oh, you need to take both or don't take any, or that's his son. So if he wants to spend time with it, but it could cause a problem within the household because
Yeah.
if you're taking one and not the other, especially if they both live with you. Now I say, you don't know the dynamics of the situation. Maybe
Right.
the stepchild son doesn't get along with the dad, but still you don't make a division in the house. And like I said about my dad never made division in the house between me and my siblings. And it's so funny because my siblings, my brother and my sister, look just like our dad. Like my brother and sister look like twins, but they're 2 years apart. And then they look like my dad. So when you see them, they look like triplets. They walk alike. My brother sounds like my dad. And my dad was like, well, she just looks like mom. And that's that. It was no difference. The family was there for me. And a lot of times we don't have that, especially in our community, in our household, is like somebody is always trying to prove one thing or another. So I think that's pretty sweet of you to be, and I'm sure you're an amazing bonus dad period. I know you are. So kudos to you
I
and your
try my
wife
best.
for
I try my best. Thank you. Thank you.
no problem. Now you did say that y'all were I ain't trying to put your business out there, but you did say y'all were trying. And a trying man is better than a no man at all. That's a song, I think. Um, so I'm not gonna ask you what is it like trying because that ain't my business. But we're trying. That's not this type of platform.
I
We're
got
not
you. I
talking
got you.
about the
I
ins and
got you.
outs of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. That's some Twitter after dark type, back in college conversations.
Right,
But
right,
nah,
right.
I got you. But
So what has it been? A lot of times, well, let me say this. So in the African American community, there are oftentimes we don't talk about tough subjects and tough topics, especially
mhm.
fertility and infertility. And we don't talk about it in general as a people, But in our community as African Americans, we don't touch on it much at all. So this is
Mhm.
a subject that could be a bit touchy for some, but I want to talk about it a little bit with you, Jamad, about fertility and infertility when it comes to men in the African American culture.
Um, Man, so I'll start. Male fertility in general, is it talked about enough? Of course.
Hmm.
So then, of course, once you add the racial component to it and the stigma of a man is supposed to do this and be that and yada yada, like stuff that doesn't matter is not important, or it's things like that. It's talked about even less. So
Yes.
for me, it was, I think, like March or no November of 2020, is when
Hmm.
we initially said we're gonna try to conceive. My wife had two kids
Pandemic
already
time.
again, so yeah,
Mm.
yes. And she had two kids already, so she knew everything was good. I had been told by women that they were pregnant by me previously, and they miscarried, or stuff like that had happened. That's what I
Hmm.
was told, right? So I was like, okay, I'm good, this is going to be really easy. Well, November goes by, nothing. December, January, February, March, April, and we're looking like, okay, something's not is not adding up here. And she's like, well, maybe it's my medicine
Hmm.
coming out of my system. Like, but she's a nurse, so she's like, it should have been gone by now. So she went and got a workup, everything was good. So next was me. But they don't consider you infertile for a year, so I had to wait until 2021. So
Mm.
2021 goes by, and I start, the
Mm.
process, because it's a process. And where I'm from, I still lived in Maryland at the time, and I lived on the Eastern Shore of Maryland, and they didn't have urologists that specialize in
Mm.
fertility. So it was very difficult for me to even go talk to somebody, because again, male fertility is
Right.
seldom talked about that they don't have specialists
Taboo.
anywhere.
Hmm.
So I actually didn't get an appointment until 2022. So and at that point,
Hmm.
I was told that I have azoospermia. Now, this is going to be some technical stuff. So
All right.
azoospermia means
Please
that we
unpack.
produce zero.
What is it called again?
Azoospermia, right? It is,
Azoospermia. Okay.
yeah. So what it means, all it means is that you do not produce sperm. So they do a semen analysis and they found nothing, not one, not two, and it's supposed to be like normal. I think it's 20 million per milliliter.
Ooh.
They found zero. So at that point, they're like, okay, there's something clearly wrong here.
Right.
Um, and me being me, like I'm like, what you mean? I've been told by these women that I got them pregnant before. What do you mean something's wrong? How can that
Right.
be? So
Zero.
my initial reaction was mad. Like, what you mean? Like all these women be lying to me? Like, oh. But then I kind of moved past that, um, and moved to a depressive, phase on it, because it's like, man, I really want children. I've always said I wanted children. I
Mm.
always said I was gonna wait till I was 30. I turned 30. So here I am, like pushing for it, like ready, eager, got my wife, we're working on getting a house, ready for it, and it's just not possible.
Right.
So it really hurt me mentally, to be honest. Times I would cry when I first got the news. I broke down and cried. My wife was calling me. I'm like, I don't want to talk to anybody. My sisters are calling me. Stop calling me. I don't want to talk about it. So I probably cried for like 30, 45 minutes. Um,
Mm.
just not being even be able to move. And then
Right.
you know, after a day or two, I kind of like got back, and I was like, you know what? Clearly this isn't talked about enough. Not enough black men, not enough men in general talk about it. So I was like, I elected to vlog about it. So if you go on my social media, I have videos just talking about the process and things that I was going through, different procedures I'd have to have and things like that. And I started looking up the statistics. Well, 1 in 7 men suffer from infertility. 50% of
Mm,
infertility cases between couples are caused by the man. Once you add in the racial
mm,
component, it goes to like 1 in 5 men suffer
mhm.
from infertility of black men. And then you add in the factor that sperm counts in general over the last like 30 or 40 years have dropped tremendously. So
Oh, so you've been
it's on a
researching,
trend.
researching.
I'm researching, research. So I'm looking, I'm like, okay, so this is about to be a more common thing. And when I talk to urologists, they're saying we don't have the research on it. Not enough men are coming forward. We know
Mm,
these statistics, but our statistics could be off. What our methods are can be off
right.
because we just don't know. So but I'm going through the process. So I ended up but initially I said I have a varicose vein, which is like your vein is tied up, wrapped around, it's causing stuff to overheat. Got that repaired. I actually got that repaired July 1st, walked down the aisle July 16th. So 2 weeks later. Um,
Mm.
and then, waited my time, did another test, still have azoospermia. So I'm like, man, what's going on now? So I go to another urologist. He's saying, okay, you're still showing it. Your varicose vein is repaired. Your genetics are fine. Everything's okay. The only thing we
Mhm.
can do is a biopsy. And a testicular biopsy is they actually cut you open and take a small piece. The most painful
Oh,
thing I have ever experienced in my
oh,
life on recovery. But
Jamal,
did that I
bless your
did that
heart.
earlier this year. And that's when I was told you have Sertoli cell only syndrome. And I was like, what is this?
Sertoli cell only. These are
Right.
some I have never, and I'm pretty studied, have never
It's just
heard of
not
any
talked
of
about.
this.
It's not talked about at all. So
Mm,
again, I'm I'm hurting because I'm like, I keep going through these procedures. I keep going to see specialists. They've cut me open multiple times. Why do I still have to go through this? So I'm driving. I pull over. Like I can't drive anymore because I'm breaking down. I'm crying. My wife is just like, I'm here. We'll get through this together. I'm thankful for her because she's been my rock through it all. It also reminded me like she's
mm,
going through it too because she wants more kids. She wants to have a
right.
very happy pregnancy because she's never experienced it. So we're both like really in this and fighting for it because it's what we want. But the doctor, he says that he explains how it works. He said there's tubes inside of your testicles. And I'm like, tubes? Like, what do you mean tubes?
Mhm,
But he breaks it down. He says that's where your sperm matures, yada yada yada. That's if they have to be working. So he says 20% of yours are working, 80% are not,
mm,
according to our biopsy. So I was like, okay, that's a good thing. We have something possibly. So we're asking the questions. Well, can they do another biopsy and maybe take some out and do IVF? And he breaks it down to us. He's very honest. I love my doctor, Dr. Witt, great guy.
mhm,
Um, if they go in right now, there's only a 20% chance they find anything. It's like it's
mm,
just not good odds. So what you need to do is take shots. So I'd have to take a shot 3 times a week, and I need to take a pill daily. And
mhm.
it's a waiting process yet again. So we wait a couple months. I actually have an appointment coming up next week to see if anything has changed and
Okay.
just keep going through that process. So it is a process. What the pill and shots
Fingers
do, they change
crossed.
your hormones. Fingers crossed for real.
Mhm.
'Cause the next step is to
And
be cut
prayers,
open
much
again. And
prayer.
I'm like trying not to be cut open. So, but
Yeah, well,
yeah, that's
I'm definitely going to keep you in my prayers with that. And I appreciate your vulnerability in sharing that because oftentimes that's something that men don't talk about. And we're talking about men the whole month of June. We're deep diving into, things that bother men that men deal with. And that's not talked about at all because, oftentimes if you don't, sometimes it's thought of if you have a slew of kids, oh, you're the man. Even if you got kids all over the place, you're thought of as the man. But when you suffer from something like fertility or infertility, men don't want to talk about it because, as you said, it sent you into a, not only could it send you into a depression, it could be emasculating. And I'm so glad that you talked about that because it's not, it's a part of life. Stuff happens. And women go through it all the time, and men go through it more than they talk about. But in general, I talked about last week how oftentimes men don't feel safe to have these type of conversations. And as I said, Tiff Talk is a place for you to be safe and feel safe to talk about the tough things that our men are going through. So you said you went through a little bit of depression.
Mhm. I'm
And
actually
according to,
clinically diagnosed with depression.
oh,
So it for me, it was like a trigger for me to go into my depressive period immediately because
right.
it's something I was fighting for. So um, even talking to my therapist or my psych NP who prescribes me, like I had to talk to them because I'm like I need something or I need to get these emotions out. Uh, it was yeah
You're
it
talking
was a
good
hard one.
tonight. You are talking good tonight because there are so many men that battle with depression and
Mhm.
that are can be clinically diagnosed, but they're not. And I'm not just talking
Right.
black, I'm talking white, purple, blue, Asian, whatever, because men do not oftentimes take the steps they need to help their mental health. And we do know that June is Mental Health Awareness Month and Health Awareness Month I'm sorry, June is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month and also
Right.
Men's Health Awareness Month. And we know that our president, way back in the day, Mr. Carter, passed that bill in 1979. But for a man to have his own month to focus in on things that they need to take care of health wise, it speaks volumes because we don't, as men, well, not we, I'm not man, but as a men do not often take care of their health or their mental health. Um, So for you to talk about being clinically depressed, that means not only did you go to a doctor, you saw a therapist and you're on medication. Those are three things that men don't do, let alone black men. So what made you want to go that route? Like what was a trigger or a sure telltale sign that said, "Hey, I might be a little more than just sad."
Um, yeah, making me think back. So I think the first time I went to therapy was 2000 like 18 or 19. It was a while
Mhm.
back. Um and it was just because like I'm educated, and I don't follow a lot of stereotypes and a lot of tropes. I recognized and I think that was just my growth as a person to recognize like you're your own human being before you're anything else. Before you're a man, before you're black, before anything, you're a person. And people have emotions. And I know
Mhm.
growing up, we're taught as men to bury our feelings, to push them down, and push them away. And I think I had did that to the point of my own detriment.
Mhm.
Especially when I talked about when I lost my grandmother back in 2012. That was like a real big breaking point for me because she really was instrumental in my growing up and making sure I
Mhm.
didn't go on a negative route. So losing her, and it was a week before my 21st birthday. A person I want to see me
Mhm.
walk across the stage, help me get into college and all that. Like for me to lose her was like, and on top of like PTSD that I didn't recognize that I have, all that, I just kind of like
Yeah.
realized it was like an epiphany where I was like, all right, I need some help because I can't do this on my own. And I tried numbing myself, of course, with alcohol and weed, just smoking, drinking all the time. And I didn't even recognize this what I was doing. But I was lucky enough to just have that epiphany and start to go. First experience with therapy was horrible. No shade to to the therapist at the time, but she was a young white woman, and she didn't understand what I
Mhm.
was going through whatsoever.
Right.
Whatsoever. And again, I'm on the Eastern Shore of Maryland at this time, so there's not a black male therapist in that area, and this was before people were really
Nah,
doing virtual therapy. So
not at
I
all.
had nobody to go to. Um, of course, my best friend Darius has became a therapist, but like it's conflict of interest, and he can't be my
Mhm.
therapist. So, um, I still trucked on, kept pushing. Then once I got my wife, and I'm bring her up a lot because she's been so instrumental in so many things for me. I've called her my superhero. I really felt like at that time where we
Mhm.
connected, she saved me from committing suicide at that point because I was really very suicidal at that time. Um, but she really encouraged me. She's like, "Look, if you can't control your emotions, there's nothing wrong with it. Maybe you should get on some medication." So that was the first time I even considered medication. And at first, I was nah, still being my
Yeah.
bravado, my masculine. Men don't do that. We don't yada yada yada.
Mhm.
And she was like, "Nah, I think you should try it." So I did, and
Come
and
on,
it
wife.
actually helped balance my mood out a lot, and it helped me deal with a lot. But not long after that, she started studying psychology. She's just graduated Psych NP. So
Congratulations.
she's been, thank you. She worked hard for it. So but she with her studies, she started noticing things about me, about our children, about herself, and she's been like that guiding light within our family to say, you need this, you need that, let's go talk to this person about this, let's go talk to that person about that. And it's been a day and night experience. Like I cry more often, but it's like a healthy
Mhm.
cry because it's like me
Mm.
recognizing my emotions and diving into them. But at the same time, I'm not repressing things like I was.
Right.
I openly talk about my first experience with police officers being in a drug raid. I openly
Mm.
talk about that now. Like I openly talk about losing my grandmother. I openly talk about days where when I was young and I was helping raise my younger siblings, even though I'm in middle school. So there's things that I threw to the back of my mind, like, okay, it's whatever, just get through it. I brought them to the forefront and was able to, now I'm able to talk about them openly and face my emotions and kind of tackle the demons, as the saying goes.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. Because not enough men will talk about that. You know,
Yeah,
even when it comes to the, like you said, numbing the pain. A lot of people don't
yeah,
know that drug abuse and alcohol abuse or addiction is a mental health disorder. A lot of
for
people don't
sure,
know that, but that's what people turn to numb the pain.
for
Being
sure,
suicidal, a lot of times they're like, "Oh, you just push past it," but you have no clue that that's a part of being clinically depressed.
right.
Suicide, well, not always a part, but that's something that comes along with being clinically depressed. So, when you talk about clinically depressed, is another name for that bipolar disorder? Because I thought I heard, I have read about that, but I'm not sure if that's what it's still called.
So I'm not a health professional, but if
Mm-hmm.
I'm not mistaken, there is a distinction. There's a clear distinction, and health professionals are very
Gotcha.
hesitant to diagnose people with bipolar disorder. I've actually been
Bipolar
tested for it.
disorder. Mm-hmm.
Um, the test showed I didn't have it. I don't stay in. It's highs and lows, extreme
The
highs,
swings.
extreme lows.
Yeah, it's not the swings.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
can do
gotcha.
anything in the world. I don't want to be in the world, but it has to be for an extended period of time. I think 4 days. I think mine
Yeah,
don't, and what I said with mine don't last a long enough to be considered, bipolar disorder.
bipolar.
But
Gotcha.
those, yeah, and it's from what I can recall, talking to health professionals and things like that, they're very hesitant about even saying that because it's something you can never really get past. You have to like learn to live with it
Right.
rather than fixing it.
To mature, right, to face it and grow from it. But I just wanted to ask because I remember that I did know someone who told me, it was a guy. I used to date this guy like way, I don't know, like 2016, 2015. And so he told me that he was clinic, or maybe even longer than that, like 20, whatever, whenever. He told me he was clinically depressed. And I said, okay. So I'm like, I mean, he unpacked it and I was glad that he did. And so I'm like, okay, so I started doing my little research, clinically depressed, da 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 da. And then he says, well, I'm bipolar. And I was like, okay. And he really was bipolar. And that's
Yeah.
not to, we giggle about it, and it's not,
Mhm.
that's tough. With the highs and the
Yeah.
lows and the swings. And if you're not a strong person, that could be something hard to deal with. But I just know that he told me he was clinically depressed, and then the clinically depression went to bipolar disorder. So I just wanted to know if there was a differentiation, but I can see the differentiation because you can be clinically depressed and not have your swings, or doesn't, like you said, last as long. But for men, to know that, I think that's great for you to know what you are and how you are. And then being honest with your partner in that. Because if you're not honest with your partner in that, they will think that, they people can be judgmental
Absolutely.
and they're not hearing it. So they
Yeah.
don't know how to handle what you have going on. And right here today on Tiff's Talk, we want to debunk all of that. You know, you are able to be a man and go through and have mental health issues and deal with your mental health issues. You are able to be diagnosed. You're able to have medication, be on medication, and still be the man that you were created to be. You are you're not
Absolutely.
less than because you are diagnosed with something. You are not less than. Is nothing wrong with you. In fact, there are more people in general, men, women, black, white, Puerto Rican, Asian, that may need to have a diagnosis of something that we don't, because
Yeah.
the stigma is so ugly, so
Yeah.
ugly. But we end that
Yeah.
today.
Yeah,
We
for
touching that
sure.
today.
Yeah, for sure. Because in my honest opinion, it makes you a better person in general when you can tackle the
Hmm.
issues via therapy or with medication, whatever you may need. Um, it makes it just you're a better overall human being. You're happier, so you're healthier. Um,
Hmm.
and it just helps you with everything else because you're happier and healthier.
Right. Exactly. So why do you feel that it's hard for men to open up to talk to people about things like that? Why is that so hard?
Um, sheesh. I think it's because we're taught as men, you nobody cares. Like legit men are taught nobody cares. Nobody cares about, you being upset. Nobody cares about, you being in pain. Nobody cares about what you're going through. They just want you to get it done. And
Mhm.
like myself, like a lot of men went through a lot of life with that moniker. Like just get it done. It doesn't matter. I'm okay. Back is hurting. All right, whatever. Let's just get up. Let's go to work. It doesn't matter. Cry before you super sad for you leave the house. Doesn't matter. Get there, do your job, take care of your household. That's instilled in you from a very young age. But
Right.
it's sick. Like it's a very sick thought. Like because
It
it
is.
dehumanizes you. Like you're like your feelings don't matter, and to for a lot of guys that's their reality. Their feelings don't matter to themselves first and foremost, and then
Yes.
because they don't matter
Yes.
to themselves, they don't matter to other people. So they don't talk about them, they don't recognize them, and I think men specifically are uh, emotionally unintelligent because of that. And
Mm,
then once you raise your
that's
emotional
good.
intelligence and recognize what's going on with you, it helps you in so many ways. So we have to first and foremost, we talk about generational curses all the time, and a lot of people they
Mhm.
just associate that with finances. Generational
Right.
curses go so far beyond that because there's so many mental aspects that are within that. Even with finances, how you spend your money is typically a learned behavior that is
Yeah.
passed down. And if you bad spending habits that's passed down, what happened? How did that originate? So when you think about like men talking about their mental health, I always go back to slavery. You just had to put up with it
Yes.
and go through. Especially as the man, you
Right.
put up with it and go through. and that ideology and that teaching has just been pushed down and passed down and pushed down and passed down and built up until it's just ingrained in us and in our society. But you're dehumanizing yourself. You were people were dehumanized as slaves. Why would you continue that generational curse of
Go down that
dehumanizing
path.
yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's better to just heal. This it is
Yeah.
time to heal. Raise your emotional intelligence. It makes you a better partner because you have more empathy. It makes you a better parent because you have a higher level of understanding. And you could teach your children like it's okay. My youngest son
Hmm.
cries all the time. Like he cries multiple times a day. And I'm like, look, it's okay to cry. Never let anybody tell you that it's not okay to cry. The only thing I tell them is like, you can't cry for
Hmm.
everything because then we don't know if it's a serious thing or not. Like, I need you
Right.
to verbalize what's wrong rather than crying because I don't know what's wrong. And it'd be something simple like his remote doesn't work. And I was like, come on now, man. Like, just tell me your remote doesn't work so I can try to fix
Yeah.
that. If you come in here bawling, I can't understand you. But we can have those conversations because I'm not telling him boys don't cry.
Yes.
Like
And
that toxic
that's
masculinity thing.
so important in our community and men relationship between men in general, but especially in the African American community, because we grew up learning, oh, a man ain't gonna cry, boys don't cry, if you cry you're a punk. And like you said, it does go back to slavery times. I talk about it all the time. My siblings laugh at me because I'm always bringing up the Willie Lynch letter. but but the truth is the truth, and a lot of things are tied to that. I thought you were about to say something, but a lot of things are tied to slave. Even when you think about, even if you're not black per se, even if you think about the way sometimes, and I don't mean for the shift, but it's going there. Even the way white men oftentimes handle situations, it all stems back to how you were brought up and how you were raised. Um, so it's there, but we just don't talk about it. But I also want to talk about how you were talking about generational things, and we always talk about generational curses, and we think about financially generational curses, but oftentimes mental health and health issues, be it high blood pressure, diabetes, cholesterol, even your body chemistry, your body makeup that affects you mentally, your mental health, all goes back to your genetic pool, your genes. And in our community and in general, oftentimes people grow up without even knowing their dads. So they may not know what's on that side of the family. But can we talk about the importance of understanding your genetic makeup so you can, understand who you are better? What do you think about that?
Um,
I think you just hit the nail on the head. Like, it's so important to understand it. Like, when you go into a doctor's office, for my guys that don't go see the doctor at least once a year. Get your
Please,
annual done.
please.
Let them know. But one of the first things they're going to ask you is, what is your family history? And if you don't
Hmm.
know your dad, I mean, it's so difficult. I go through that, and I look at it every time. I'm like, unknown. Like, I don't know. I don't know what health risks are over there, so I don't know what I may experience suddenly without warning, because I wasn't looking for it or tracking it at all. Don't know what
Hmm.
mental health issues may be from your father's side. Your genetic makeup, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, studies have shown that trauma is passed down genetically. And if you're talking about
Yes,
trauma
it is.
dating back 400 plus years being passed down genetically, and it just piling
Yes,
up, then at some point, yes, you're going to pop. You don't understand why, because you have no idea about
right.
your family lineage.
No clue. No clue. And as you talk about trauma, I want to put a comma right there, because my mother is a parenting coach, and I was hanging out with my mom and my cousins so much that I used to go to different conferences with them and
Mhm.
just learn. I'm a low key geek, so I take in a lot of things. And you were talking about trauma, and it's something called ACEs. I don't know if you've ever heard of ACEs, but it's
Yeah.
adverse childhood experiences. You know,
Yes.
okay,
Yes.
okay.
Yes. I've taken the test. I've taken the
And
test.
okay. Then, like Jamal said, there is a test that you can take, but it's called ACEs, it's Adverse Childhood Experiences. And what it talks about is if you, I think it's about 10 questions. It used to be 10 questions, but
Mhm.
I think it may be 12 questions now. And that if you show out three out of the 10 questions, then you suffer from ACEs. And what ACEs does is it's trauma. And a lot of people don't understand with trauma, you cannot medicate trauma. Trauma is non medicated. You can medicate just about anything and everything, but you cannot medicate trauma. Trauma is not mental health, although trauma does beget mental health issues. It is not mental health. And what happens is if you're predisposed to three or four out of those 10 questions, it can cut your life expectancy. It talks about how you see the world, the way you do the things that you do. And guess who it affects the most, y'all? African
But
Americans. And we're the people that don't know a clue about an adverse childhood experience. It says things like if you grew up with an alcoholic parent or an abusive parent, you're more predisposed to having a high blood pressure or cholesterol issues, the things that we don't go to the doctor to see about. And so
right.
I'm glad that you brought up the trauma piece because it is very prevalent in our community. It's prevalent within, and is less known within men. You know why? Because men don't talk about it and men don't seek help about it. We
Yeah.
do not.
I've
Men do not.
taken the
Keep
test.
saying
It's not for those that haven't taken it. Go to take it because it's very enlightening. Again, my wife was studying
Mhm.
psychology, so she read about it. She learned about it,
Oh, it does. So you
and
definitely know about ACEs.
yeah, and one of the yeah, because everything that happens, the first thing she does is test it on me,
Yes.
because she's
Yep.
like, "You're a good test subject. You're a good case study." I've been her case study in so many classes. So she had me take the test, and she kind of just looked at me like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "What do you mean, am I okay?" And she was like, "So, because like you said, it says what you're predisposed to, and you're short in lifespan." So she's looking at it. She's like, according to this, the average lifespan for men in America is what 74, 75.
Yes.
Um,
Yep.
Mine was going to be cut down by like 20, 30 years from off of that, like
Mhm.
because of trauma I experienced in the past. So it's, and like you said, you can't medicate it. It's just like it is what it
Mm-mm.
is. But at the same time, you can like try to release the stress of it and manage it. And that's been my goal, is to like release, let the pain of the trauma go, so
Right.
I'm not passing it down, and so that it doesn't impact my life to that extent. Ace is no joke. It's no
Yeah,
joke.
that's good. And it is no joke. It is no joke at all. So what is it that we as women, because you talk about your wife all the time, and she seems to be amazing. I'm gonna have to meet her. But
He
what
is. He
can
is.
we as women do to help men feel more comfortable to open up or more trusting? What is it? What are some things that we can do to help our men out?
Um, I don't like generalizing, because
Okay.
everybody's different. Everybody's needs are
Right.
different. I'm always going to speak for me and for what the
Mm-hmm.
women in my life have done. Um, and I think everybody's had a very distinct role and a different role. From my mother, of course, mother's matriarch, but my mother wasn't, and she will say like she wasn't the best mom, but she did the best that she could do. And I tell parents all the time, like, you do the best that you know
That she
how to
could.
do. As we continue to educate ourselves, we can do better
Mm-hmm.
because we know better. So she did what she could do, and then my
Right.
sisters, of course, who acted like my parent a lot of the time. I don't think my mom has signed a permission slip, to be honest with you. When I was growing up, it was always one of my sisters. She's like, I'm just going to sign mom's signature. Um, but they kind of like were that guiding light, that guiding force in my life, especially being older.
Mm-hmm.
My sisters, Nikki and Mona, especially, were like parents all the time. We still call Mona our second mom, because she'll tell you about yourself in the nicest way possible, and everybody that knows her loves her.
Right.
So she's the nicest human being, but she's gonna let you know exactly what she
What
thinks
it
and
is.
why she
Mhm.
thinks it, and it is what it is. It'll cut you every time. Does not cuss, does not raise her voice, but you're gonna be hurt. You're like, I let her down. But so her
Sounds a
like
little bit
being
like
that,
me.
but I've always had her as my voice of reason. My sister Nikki's a bit more brash. She's gonna say what it is, but again, being very honest and very terse. Um,
Mhm.
so I've had women be that guiding light for me, and then also be that support. I know early on in my life, because I'm irreligious and the rest of my family's Christian. I'm
Mhm.
a nerd,
Mhm.
point blank period, in the anime, sci-fi, fantasy. Nobody else in my family is into that. Um, where most young men want to be athletes, I wanted to be a paleontologist when I was young. Like I've never really
Right.
fit in with anything. And even in my family dynamic, I kind of felt like I didn't fit in for a long time. And that
Mhm.
was part of my depression, is because I didn't know where or how I fit in, to any place. I was lucky enough to find like
Right.
my friend tribe. I was lucky enough to learn where I fit in with my family. So they've been super supportive, and I think we've all grown as a family to learn to accept each other, and so just support each other
For
whatever we
who
want
they
to do.
are. Yeah.
So yeah, so
Mhm.
I've been blessed with that. And then my wife, when she came into my life, like I said, we've known each other since we were 7. We're both irreligious, but it's very ironic that we met
Mhm.
in church when we went. Um,
Uh-huh.
and she kind of like she's just been a really good partner.
Mhm.
People talk all the time about get in the ring, and I think again, I don't like to generalize, but I do see a lot of women talking about get in the ring. Marriage is the goal, but if marriage is the goal, you also have to understand that that goal comes with work. And for me, she's
Right.
been very vocal about what her needs are, and also made me feel very comfortable, just by her being open and honest with me. But she doesn't stop there. She
Mhm.
asks, "What do I need? What do you need from me?" And just that inviting sense helps out a lot, because it opens the door. Like you get taken aback. Like, what do you mean? What do I need from you? Why are you worried about my needs?
Mm.
Because that's how you are as a man. You worried about everybody else's needs, and I still struggle with
Right.
that myself. I put everybody before myself oftentimes. But she's always on me. Like, stop doing that. Like, what do you need? What do you want from us? Like, what do you need from us? Do you need a break? Take a break. Take a day off, because
Take
I'm
a
always
break.
working.
Yeah.
So like giving me that safe space, and allowing me to be vulnerable is a big thing. And then it's another thing you hear all the time, and I'm lucky not to experience it, is throwing it back in your face. So like we don't argue with each other. We have
Mhm.
disagreements for sure. Every marriage does. We're
Mhm.
not perfect, but we don't raise our voice at each other. We don't cuss at each other in like an angry way. If one of us is upset,
Mhm.
we say, "I need to process," and then we table the conversation until we're at a point where we can talk about it. Um, but that level of
That's good.
communication and that level of dedication is very inviting, because I don't have to worry about me saying
Mhm.
something and then 2 weeks later, when we're in a heated argument, um, you're throwing it back in my face. I don't have to worry about that. It doesn't even cross my mind, because it doesn't happen. I've been in relationships where that happened before, and I'm like, I trusted you. Like that was a private
Right.
thing. It's an intimate, vulnerable moment I shared with you. Why would you do that? So that inviting thing. So definitely women being the leader, being that leadership or that
Mm.
guiding light, showing you how an example of a woman that you may want, like, um,
Right.
and learning from that, as well as being the inviting. Women are inviting to men, asking those questions. What do you need from me? Um, Simple things like, how was your day? Or
Mhm.
it just helps out a lot. You'd be surprised how far that goes. Just those two questions: how was your day? What do you need from me at this, like in this relationship, at this
Right.
time, in this partnership? You know?
Right. And when you ask, not just ask to, excuse me, be doing something to ask with purpose and listen to
Right.
understand and not just to respond. So that was
Yes.
real good, Jamad. That was really good because we don't oftentimes as women we don't ask, what is it that you need from me, and then not only asking the question, what do you need from me, already have created the space so you can be honest about what it is that you need from me. Because sometimes we may ask the question, what do you need from me? And when you tell us I need space, a woman is going to take that as you're leaving her or you're rejecting her. Or if you're saying I need to go out with you as a woman and not as a mother, I can't do that because I got da, 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 da. But as a woman, already creating the space for you to feel safe where you can tell me the truth. What I need from you, I need for you to put your freaking dress on and leave your mom dress at home. Or I need from you a hot cooked meal because babe, you ain't cooked it's been 3 days that you haven't really cooked. And I'm kind of hungry. Or I need for you not to ask me what you need from me. I need for you to know at this time that I've come in here at 8:45 at night, and I don't need you to ask me, am I hungry? I don't need you to ask me to take the trash out. I don't need you to ask me to get the kids ready because I've been out for 14, 15 hours a day working. So that's really good. I those are some very good pieces of wisdom for women to take.
Absolutely. And I think you
Yep.
you
So
brought up a good point that
that's
listening
great.
to.
What else did I
I was going to say you saying listening to understand rather than respond. That's a big one. Cause and if you don't understand, don't just say okay.
Mhm.
Like ask what do you mean by that? What does
Right.
that mean to you? Like
Yeah.
clarifying questions. Don't just say okay and try to move forward with the conversation because you need to know, especially if it's going to be your partner for life, if you're really committed to it, especially with
Mhm.
marriage. And I haven't been married long, but I always ask, I learn from other people, so other people's mistakes
Right.
I look at and I'm like, I don't want to make that mistake. I look at other people's successes, look at like, all right, that's what I want to, that's how I want to do it. That's how I want to get there. And one of the things I always saw when I saw an elderly older couple and I asked them how long they've been married, you know, and 30, 40, 50 years, I'm always asking, well, what's your secret? Like
Mhm.
what are you doing? Because I was never interested in just being married for the wedding sake or the namesake. Like I wanted
Right.
to make it work. And I think my wife is that same way. She wants to make it work. So we're both like, she does the same thing. How have you done it? What's your secret? And a lot of times it is that communication piece and that being honest piece. Some people have told me like we don't go anywhere without each other. Other people are like, hey man, I slept on the couch for 2 weeks just because I needed some space. Like, but
Yeah.
it's always whatever works in your relationship, but you
For
have to
you.
be able to
Mhm.
communicate that with your partner and be open and honest about it. So create that space
For
for it.
sure. For sure. Now you say you work a lot. You work all the time, and you did say that you were a teacher.
Yeah.
Seventh grade. Are you still in
Mhm.
education, or what are you doing now?
So I'm no longer in education. May 24th was my last official day as an educator. I
Oh.
was a teacher for three
Mm-mm-mm-mm.
years. Georgia started school very early. We started school August 5th this past school year.
Okay.
So what super and we had like longer breaks, but like May 24th, it was dragging it. Um, but education, I commend everybody that is an educator. Um,
Yeah. Mm.
it was not my calling. And I think
Yeah.
that's my best way of putting it. Um, I used to do a lot of activist work. I don't like calling myself an activist, but a lot of activism work.
Mhm.
Whereas I would talk about our educational system and the things that was lacking and its issues in it. And me being an educator was my way of like getting in there and trying to fix some issues from the inside. But it's so much, and it wasn't what I was meant to do or really what I really wanted to do with my life. It was actually prophesied. There was a prophecy. There was a prophet I met when I was 12, and my uncle had
Mhm.
just died when I was 10. I started writing when I was 11, and I met this prophet when I was 12 who prophesied on me. Never met this woman in my life. Probably could walk past her today and not know it was her. Um, and she said, "You've been writing. Stop hiding. You're writing from the world." I was like, she's like, it's your
Mhm.
calling. I'm like, what do you like? You don't know me, man. What are you talking about? But
Right.
and it took me a very long time to get back to that. I studied music technology in undergrad, um, but I did write my first book in 2016. And so,
Oh,
even being an educator,
congratulations.
thank you. So, but I realized like later
Mhm.
on, like this is really my calling, and I've been running from it, and it's time to embrace it
Yes.
rather than run from it. So now I work all the time, but I work like for myself now. So I
Mhm.
write full time, and I publish other people. So I'm a publisher, own my own publishing company called Modest Publishing, and I write books under the pen name Modest. And I travel around selling my books at comic conventions or book fairs and
Oh,
things
cool.
like that. So it's a very rewarding thing. But and if most writers will tell you it's not profitable for a while, especially as an indie writer. You don't see
Yeah.
that money
Yep.
coming in. You're not able to support yourself. And again, my wife being my wife, because this is not a thing that I would ever think to do. I'm thinking I'm a grinder. I'm a hustler. Like I'm going to work. I'm going to make things happen, but I'm going to
Mhm.
make it happen like slowly because I'm going to have to support myself in the process. Um, we were both in school. I was getting my master's in English. She was studying
Mhm.
psych. Um, and she was looking up her potential salary. And she was like, "Well, how much do we make together?" So I broke the numbers down. We make, I don't know, I don't remember what the number was. X amount together, like 135.
Right.
Just throw a number out there together. She's like, "Well, you know, the
Mhm.
starting salary for psych NPs is 170." I was like, "Oh, okay, cool. Like that's great. We'll make a lot more
Right.
money." Like, what are you telling me this for?
As
She
a
was like,
household
"So
together. Mhm.
right, the household's we gonna be good. We're gonna be all right." And then she's like, so when I'm done school and I get a job, I want you to stop working. I'm like, what do you mean you want me to stop working?
Come on
The
here,
thought
wife.
never crossed my mind at all. Because like I said, I'm not. My mom raised said if a man don't work, he don't eat. Now I cook all the meals at home, so I'm going to
He
eat.
don't eat.
But at the same time, like, what do you mean I'm not working? She's like, nah, you don't need to work. She's a avid fan of mine as well. So she was like, your mind's too
Mhm.
creative. It's not what you want to do. Our happiness is more important than anything else. If I'm making enough money, if I'm making more than us both combined now, and we live a pretty good life,
A pretty good
why
life.
do you
Yep.
need to why do you need to be work a 9 to 5? Work for yourself, build your company up, and go forward. And I was like, I'm still looking at her, and we just made this decision that like we were going to make the transition like a few months ago. We were like, okay, we're going to
Mhm.
start the transition process. And I'm still looking at her like, are you sure? Like, I'm unsure about it myself. But she's like, in a few years, the tables are going to turn. I'm not going to have to work, and you're going to be a millionaire for both of us. You're going to make us both rich. And I'm just like, how do you know
Yes.
that about me
Speaking
when I
life.
don't know? Like, you're right. So she's putting the confidence in me, and I'm just like, all right, well. But now I told her, I was like, well, you know, the pressure's on now because you give me an opportunity, um, and I'm not gonna waste it. And she's like, I'm not concerned about that. Like I've seen you work. I see what you do.
She's
Like
amazing.
you see how
What's your
far
wife's name?
you know how Brittany. My wife's name's Brittany. So
Brittany,
yeah,
you're
she's just
awesome.
been that's my rock. So she's really held it down. She's really supported me through everything. Um, and I did got to do the same for her. So I've done that. I've done my share of emotional support for her. Through her father passing this past year, was like
Mhm.
crazy difficult. She was a daddy's girl, and I was the first person I ever called dad because it's my dad. You know, I never
Oh,
had one, and he accepted me as his son. So losing him was major in the heart of her going to school. And psych is not an easy thing to study
mm,
on a master's level. So
it's not.
I had to. There were some angry days and some sleepless nights for both of
Mm,
us, but because we made an agreement to each other, like you said, like I said before, we're in this together. So through thick and thin, better or worse, rich or poor.
mhm.
So writing is my thing, it's my passion, is what I do. Publishing other people is I want to give everybody the opportunity. If you want to tell a story, get your story out there, because I think gatekeepers have done damage, especially to black people and unknown and
Indeed.
uh, non-traditionally black genres like sci-fi and fantasy. um so I just want to give everybody that opportunity to get your story out there. And I've been blessed to be able to do this full time now.
Good. That's an amazing story. And you did not know this before. And I'm gonna say it now. You are an inspiration to me with that story because I've been working on a book probably ever since you've known me. It's called The Friend Zone. Everybody that keeps up with Tiff Talks know that Tiffany is working on a book called The Friend Zone. And what happened was I was writing, I was grinding it out, and I lost about 110 pages. And it was like I stopped. I didn't write for a long time. Then I'll start
I
and
just
I'll
feel the
stop. I'll
pain.
start and I'll stop. Yeah, it's you know. Um, so you talking about you taking the steps to be a writer. My end goal is I want to take the friend zone from a book to either a TV show or a movie. And I've been talking to people in the area. Megan Mines, Tressa Smallwood, she's a producer, and she has her own publishing company, but as well as a publishing company. Um, has a production company. And what she does is, and maybe you can utilize her as well, she takes books and turn the books into movies. And they're on Tubi, they're on BET Plus. And don't laugh at Tubi because Tubi gets you the money.
Listen,
It
to
gets
be
you the
like,
money. But she's on Tubi, BET Plus, Amazon Prime.
oh yeah,
So
I might need that contact. I'm gonna need that contact, because
yeah,
I've
I
been looking like,
definitely will pass it to you.
yeah, please, because I've been doing again. I do my research, and again, my
Mm-hmm.
wife, that's been my partner and everything. And we watched a lot of Portuguese or Brazilian
Oh,
dystopian films, a lot of, or
mm-hmm.
Brazilian sci-fi films. And she looked at me and she's like, they're black. And I was like, yeah, there's a lot of Afro Brazilians. Like, it's a very large portion of the population. She's like, I didn't know that. She's like, they make a lot of sci-fi
Yeah.
films down there. I was like, yeah, they do, and they're really good. She was like, and she was looked at me and she was like, so we're not taking your books down there to make a movie like for lower costs? And I was like, I never thought of that. So I started looking up production companies, but I'm always down to help for the home team to work. And
Right.
Tubi, while we might laugh at some of the Tubi movies, there are some very legit ones too. And like you said, they get the money. So
They
I
do.
need that. Yeah, let me get
Yes, I
that.
sure will push you her information. And the thing is, so I don't know if you ever heard of the show called Wicked City. It's on, I want to say the network is called Black, BLK. I have it on my Amazon Prime, but Wicked City is on that platform. Amazing show. And it's about black witches. So I'm telling
Mm,
you, there is a space and a place for you. And when I went to the PG County Film Fest last year. Well, I went a few years, but at the PG County Film Fest, they were talking about how in one of the uh what's the thing called? In one of the sessions that I was in at the PG County Film Fest, they were talking about the time is now for black creators and black spaces for sci-fi, um supernatural. This is a time and a place, and
it is.
bigger companies are actually putting money into our stories because they're not often told from a black perspective.
I
So
have
Jamad, whatever you gotta do.
I have looked into this so much. In
Okay.
grad school, one of my reports was on the transition of sci-fi and fantasy being a white male dominated genre to being controlled by black women, because the
Yes.
two most renowned black fantasy authors right now are, of course, Octavia Butler is a little older, but like right now,
Mhm.
N.K. Jemisin and Tommy
Mhm.
Tommy Odeyemi are like dominating, and both of them
Right.
have their movies greenlighted by major studios to become motion pictures. So I'm just waiting for that to like. I'm just waiting for their films to come out. I love their books. I read all of the Broken Earth trilogy by
Mm,
N.K. Jemisin. She's like my idol author. If I ever met her, like I I would feel accomplished.
right.
And tell me, I've read the first of Children of the Blood and Bone series, and I'm
Mm,
reading the
that's
second
good.
one now.
It is
Yeah,
good.
I'm reading the
Speaking
second one
of,
now.
okay, I haven't read the second one yet. Children of Blood and Bones makes me think about what is the show that was on HBO and they canceled. I cannot believe they canceled it.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
Lovecraft, Lovecraft Country.
Lovecraft Country. Yeah, yeah.
That was so good.
It was too early.
So on time. So
It was too early.
it was a little
It
too
was too
early,
early.
but I think it was right there at it. It was a break. It was a little crack in the scene for us. That show was
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. It was just a little
So
bit before his time. If it had come out too
yeah,
well, I don't know, because Jonathan Majors, but 3 years later, it would have been still going now, I think.
yeah. So where can we find your stuff? Where can we find your books? Go ahead, give us plug the production company. We're gonna send writers your way, and I'm believing that everything that you put out that you're gonna get back. And that's from finance. I believe with your wife that you're a millionaire, and I also believe that once you become a millionaire, you're gonna send me some money too. It's like I'm just kidding. but but no, and
Everybody
all
eats,
jokes
B.
aside,
Everybody eats.
right, we all eat, but I believe that you're going to blow up.
Thank you.
And if I can send anybody your way, even if it's my stuff, mine is not sci-fi. Mine is really coming of age. It's a coming of age story. But what I know, you gonna know, and what you know, I'm gonna know, because that's just how family does. So where
Right.
can we find your books, your publishing company? How can we just be down with Modest?
All right. So everything, my books, information about the publishing company, or if you want to contact me, it is modestpublishing.com, MAADIST publishing.com. You can follow me on all social media at official modest. And that's really the easiest way. I mean, if you're on Amazon, if you just search modest on Amazon too, you can purchase directly off
Mm-hmm.
Amazon if that's your go-to. My books are everywhere though. Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, Target, Walmart, wherever you're getting
Well,
your
what's the
your reading
title?
from.
What's the name of some of your
So,
books?
so I have right now I have 4 out. Working on another
Mm-hmm.
one. So I have one called Haru. It's a superhero story. I was just tired of the same old tropes, especially with black superheroes. They're either ex-military or have lightning
Right.
powers. It's kind of over it. But I'm not a comic creator at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So I wrote a novella, and it's a novella series. It was the first one. It's called Haru.
Oh,
So it's a black gang member that is actually fighting political corruption or police corruption within a city. So that's one of my favorite ones. But I also have Immemorial Lives, which is a tale of reincarnation. Kind of gives my theory on God and who God is
mm-hmm.
within the universe. Choices, which was my grad thesis, but it's a series. It's a collection of 6 short stories, and then and they all like connect with the overarching goddess. And then I have Beyond an Unreasonable Doubt, which is my latest one, which is
Okay.
a semi-autobiographical tale. So a sci-fi, but there's a lot of things that's from my actual life that's in it that I kind of twisted and changed up to make it fit in with the story. But
Oh.
that's probably my heart right there, just because it's so much of me within it, um, and so
Mm-hmm.
much of my story, like of my personal story in there without writing an autobiography. But yes, look up
Gotcha.
Modest
So we
on
can pick them up.
Amazon
You said
too. Like it pops right up.
Amazon, gotcha. I'm definitely
Mm.
going to be looking forward to sharing all your information. I'm going to go back and put it into my chat. So we gonna move these books. We're gonna just make it happen. I'm so glad that I sat down and had a conversation with you, Jamad. It's so good reconnecting with you. If I can do anything to help you, you please let me know. Vice versa. It's good to have family everywhere. You down in Georgia now, and let me just tell your wife, Brittany, girl, you all right with me. You're doing my baby brother real good. And I'm so glad that
Yeah,
he has you in your life.
she's just getting back
And
from Jamaica. She's more than okay. She's on a plane right now, coming back down here from Jamaica. She didn't. Her and my sisters went on a sisters trip, left me back. So,
oh, all of your sisters?
most of them, most of them went. I think like 8 of
And
them
they all get along,
went.
everybody gets along with Brittany? I
They love
love
her.
that. 'Cause
Yeah,
I
they love
love
her.
that.
My baby sister, she was like, they were talking to somebody in Jamaica. She was like, "Oh, I'm actually their sister-in-law." And my baby sister's like, "Stop saying that. You're our sister." And I was like, "Okay,
That's
that's how
good
they
because
feel. Stop saying it."
oftentimes, we have a hard time as women getting some of us. I don't. I love relationship. I love women. So I'm not that catty type of woman, but it's not often that you find 10 girls, 8, 9, 10 that's gonna take you on, especially when it's a sister-in-law or love. So that's amazing.
Hmm.
But I had to shout Brittany out. This is men's mental health awareness and men's health awareness month. But Brittany, shout out to you. And as we continue our talk next week, we're gonna have sit down and talk with more men. But I want you to remember some key points that Jamad was talking about. Is nothing wrong with crying. Is nothing wrong with knowing your mental health. We have got to, men, you have got to go to the doctor. Because even if you're not a medicine taker, even if you're not a person that believes everything the doctor says, you have to have a starting point. It's always good to know where to start. And for my older men, listen, I know y'all hate it. I know you do. I don't have one, but I mean, you got to get your prostate examined. As you age, there are things that you just have to do. Um, so take those key points from Jamad. It's okay to be vulnerable. And women, let's make safe spaces for our men to come to talk to us. Be it that's your son, your husband, your boyfriend, your brother. Let's make a safe space for our men to come to us because if they can't trust us, if they can't come to us and talk to us about how they feel and what's going on, then who do they have? Oftentimes, men go out in the world, like Jamal said, and they are taught to be hyper masculine. They are taught that they don't feel this way, don't do this, and just keep going and going and going. But today, we're debunking that. And I just want to let you men know, I just want to talk to you for a second, if it's okay. I want to let you know, just in case nobody told you today, you're amazing. You're so handsome and you smell good. And I appreciate everything that you do for us. I appreciate you getting up early in the morning and staying out working 12-hour days. I appreciate how you handle yourself. I really appreciate you, man. You're loved, you're seen, and you're so important to me. Just in case nobody else told you that, you are important to me. You're important to Tiffany. And I care about how you feel. I hope you have a beautiful day. I hope you have a beautiful evening. And you know what? Take some time to de-stress. Whatever it is that you use to de-stress, take some time to de-stress. You don't have to take the world on your shoulders because there is someone out there that will be there to help you carry it. I really appreciate you, man. And that's all, man. And by the way, early Father's Day. Look, ladies, let's treat our men good. Treat your daddies good, okay? Even if he's your baby daddy, your boo daddy, your father. Let's treat our men good because they deserve more than the spatulas and the meat. They deserve more than the tie and the socks. They deserve some expensive collabs too. Check out Scentbird, even though I'm not sponsored by Scentbird, but they deserve those things. They deserve to get flued out. They deserve a nice dinner date. So, ladies, take care of the fathers in your life. And maybe you don't have the finances to do that, but a nice card goes a long way, you know? Just letting them know that you care, relieving the stress off of them for that day. Because most of the time on Father's Day, we're gonna have a cookout. And that cookout, guess who gonna be cooking? The daddies. So treat your dads good. And to my dad, my father, Michael Fisher Sr., thank you for being my dad. Thank you for coming into my life when you didn't have to. Thank you for looking out for your girl and taking care of me. I greatly appreciate it. You're not my dad not even on no form of social media. But I know somebody gonna go back and tell him Tiff was talking good about her daddy. And I was. And I was. But anyway, Jamal, I really appreciate you taking the time to sit down with me tonight. I can't wait to see everything that you grow to do. And we're gonna move your books and we'll get you some authors coming your way. Okay.
Thank you for having me. It's been a great catching up. Great talk. Great talk.
It really has. Really, really
Right.
has. Is there anything you want to leave with the men before you go? Or the people before you go?
Uh, my brothers, be blessed, be happy, find you a good partner. And the reason I say partner is because I don't care about your sexuality. Get you a good partner. You feel me? It
Mhm.
elevates you. It takes you to a whole new level when you have somebody in your corner at all times. So get you a good partner. Stop
Yeah.
running around to 50, 40 women or 50, 40 people. Get you one. Calm it down.
That's right. Get you one and calm it down. Ain't nothing wrong with a good partner, okay? Well, and
Mm,
like I said, Jamal, anything I could do to help you, please let me know. And we will
will
definitely
do.
be in touch. If you go ahead, drop your website one more time for me.
So the website is modestpublishing.com. That's MAADIST publishing.com.
You heard it here first. Modestpublishing.com, MAADIST.com. Y'all go run my brother's numbers up. Go buy them books. And look, I love you, Jamal. And like I tell everybody,
Let me
y'all know me. I love you, but God loves you more. I'm out. Bye. Have a good night, y'all.